We are in the hindrance of the sloth and torpor. Now last week on Wednesday, I was talking about the sloth and torpor in the sense that we have to know its characteristics, its nature as it arises when we are in the state of when we are meditating. And then we have to see its nuance, its strong sloth and torpor, sometimes it's weakened form. And these are part of a whole mental development. So as long as we can able to accept them without trying to get angry about it or get too egoistic about it. As I said last week, that some of us, when we want to overcome the sloth and torpor, we use all kinds of wrong means to overcome them, and then sometimes we use our ego, try to suppress them. But this is not the way, because you cannot use an unwholesome mind to overcome another unwholesome mind, overcome a hindrance. It's always using something which is wholesome to overcome a hindrance or hindrances. So here, when we want to overcome them, then we need to exert the right effort. In this sense also, vitaka also involved. The right vitaka also is involved. Now here, we're going to look into again the three types of let me see where we are. Yes. Okay, hold on now. Okay, can you all see? All right. Okay, it will be all right. Okay, so here, when we come into this overcoming of sloth and torpor, using the way of vipassana, this is one of the most difficult. Because that the nature of sloth and torpor is to knock your effort out. When your effort is out, your mindfulness is out. That means your mind is not alert at all. The mind is not clear. So, we need to bring back that effort. Now, in order to bring back that effort, first of all, we need to somehow, within that all blurriness of the mind, we need to just have a little bit of mindfulness in order for the spark to grow, for that effort and mindfulness to grow. And then this is important. So that degree of being aware, the slight awareness that your sloth and torpor, your dullness or your drowsiness is already coming in. Then, although it's easier said than done, but actually when you are meditating, most of the time you cannot recognize it because it kind of like come in very quietly, very subtly from behind, and then it covers up all your noting. So it's not easy. So it's a training. It's like you train again and again and again until you begin to see its characteristic. You begin to recognize it that it's already seeping into your noting. It's seeping into your awareness. And that is something you need to train. As much as we can tell you here, but if you don't train, then you won't able to see this kind of a sloth and torpor. So if you're able to see it, then it's very good. At least you have the first step to overcome it. So here we're going to make that type of effort. The putting forth effort, the step up effort, and the striving towards a success type of effort. That means We have to overcome them until that hindrance disappear, at least for a while. You know that it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be for a while only. So we're going to put up that effort. So how are we going to arouse that effort? Now in coming into Vipassana, now coming into Vipassana, all right, we're going to look into, again, the Vipassana, the Samatha, and also other skillful ways. Now let's go into Vipassana. Now in the Vipassana, there are direct again, indirect again. And direct again, you have two types of it, because now in regards of sloth and torpor, then it can fall under Chittanupassana or Dhammanupassana depending on how you pay attention to the sloth and torpor. Let's go into the way of Chittanupassana first. Okay. Now in the way of Chittanupassana, the principle is you pay attention to the object directly. You don't care what is before, you don't care what is after. Now you don't worry about its condition. That is not in the area of Chittanupassana. The area of Chittanupassana is to see the object as it is. Now this time you see the mind, and specifically here is the sloth and torpor. During this time, when you're able to notice it, when you're able to notice the sloth or torpor is coming in, as I said last week also, sometimes you may notice the sloth is more stronger, sometimes the torpor is more stronger. But most of the time you cannot differentiate it because your mind is already in a state of grogginess, dullness, not clear, everything is vague, nothing much. You already start nodding already at that time. So here, let's say you can able to recognize it that is already coming in. Now you begin to directly bring the attention to notice the nature of that sloth or torpor. So sometimes you notice it as very dark or very sinking, very heavy state of mind. Now during this time, when if you somehow notice it is very heavy, then this time you note it as heavy. Heavy, 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 heavy. And while you're noting it, you also try to notice it. Is it getting stronger, stronger? Because this time, as you notice it, if it gets stronger, your mind is going to get duller, and less clearer and less clear. And this is the nature of sloth and torpor, is to repel that effort, that mental effort. So you have to kind of like, sometimes you have to like slide down together with it before you come up on the other side, You got to aware of its nature, how usually in the Chittanupassana, how the mind is contracted, congealed, like a morning you take out your butter, in the morning, from the fridge, and then it's hard. Your mind is something like that. Sometimes it goes into like it's sinking, heavy, hard, not clear. So sometimes you can able to notice this way. So it gets stronger. It can get stronger and stronger. It can overcomes you. This time you stay there first. You stay there. But most of the time, honestly, you stay there, you're going to go into sleep. You're going to go into sleep. Because if you have not trained before, if you do this way, you're going to fail a lot of times. But this one, as I said, when you are in the retreat, it's slightly more easier for you to do. But if you are at home and you want to try to do this way, you will fail. A lot of you will fail. But anyway, it's good to know. Anyway, it's good to know, because there will be times that your mind is more alert, and something like that you could able to watch it. And also another one is that when the sloth and torpor is not so heavy, you find that it's manageable. Then you use this way. You go directly face to face with it, see its character, how it becomes less clear, less energetic. Your mind become vague. Even that your mind is like switch off for a while and switch on again and switch off and switch on again. Then you can able to see its characteristic in many ways. Then that is how you see the nature of Chittanupassana. And after that, you keep on noticing it until the sloth and torpor slowly it clears off. And you got to be patient, because this sloth and torpor sometimes takes maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's not so heavy, maybe it takes you 15 minutes or so. It all depends. So this is one way to see its nature, to see how you flow with it. Another one is to help you. And here, you see, initial application, vitakka. How are you going to bring in the vitakka while you are noting the sloth and torpor? Now, here noting the sleepiness is to bring in that labeling. To bring in that labeling. That labeling is a kind of a vitakka. It's a kind of a vitakka, and when you have vitakka, that means it aroused the right effort. It aroused the right effort, because after that, the mindfulness comes together with it, and the mindfulness is aware of the nature of the sloth and torpor, and it's become clearer and clearer, and so on. So that it's part of vitakka. You bring in the labeling, whether you are advanced yogi or whether you are beginner yogi. This time the labeling is very important. You label it. You label it as sleepy. You label it as heavy. You label it as drowsy. You label it as dark. Sometimes you can use several different types of labeling within like 15 minutes also. You don't have to use the same name. You can change the name also to describe what you are noticing, because even that you are thinking to describing what is going on, that also is a kind of a vitakka also. And it helps to stir up the mind. That is one thing. Another thing to bring in that vitakka also is to note it a little bit more faster than usual. That means more noting per minute. That means you notice it as sleepy, 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 or heavy, 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 and at the same time you see its nature. So that noticing it slightly more faster than usual, then it also bring in the vitakka. That means when the vitakka comes in, the right effort also comes in. So this one, it can be very helpful to notice its characteristic until the sloth and torpor disappear. Finally, is the sloth and torpor disappear by using this way, seeing its nature, label it, do it a little bit more faster, then it can be very helpful. Sometimes you will win the battle. Sometimes you may not. So this is the way of how we overcome it, by using the way of Chittanupassana, by noticing its character. Then Dhammanupassana. In the way of Dhammanupassana, it's you see the sloth and torpor, and then you see how the relationship of sloth and torpor connected with the body or connected with the other states of mind. Okay? So now, the same thing. The subject here is the sloth and torpor. You use, let's say this time you're noticing your rising, falling. You notice your in breath, out breath. And then after a short while, your mind is like getting a bit darker, Or some people notice it as the body or the head starts to nodding. The first nodding that comes in. It was clear initially, it was clear. Then first nodding come in. Then within like a few seconds or so, second nodding comes in. Then you know that the sloth and torpor is in the background already, which is good. Now because you notice it, you can able to catch hold of it. Now, so you notice the sleepiness coming in. Then you're not sleepy or heavy. Then you notice it in such a way. When you notice it this time, and then this time the sloth and torpor gets heavier. As it gets heavier, the mind gets, the body gets, the nodding comes in a bit more. Or sometimes some people, their body starts to bend to the side. Some people, the body bends to the front. Some people bend to the behind, Different people have different ways of while they are drowsy and while they are nodding. Some people, the head is like going up and down. We call it the fishing time. Going up and down for a while. So don't stop that thing also. Your job in the Dhammanupassana is to see everything, how those things are related. And sometimes also, when you meditate, the saliva also come down from your, what is that, and then sometimes another come down and then it goes into your hands. That time also you're not supposed to wipe it off. You wait until the sloth and torpor over first. That time also, you're not supposed to do that, okay? Now, here you must be somewhat alert. And this, again, it's slightly more, I would say slightly more difficult compared to Chittanupassana. Because normally when our body is nodding, moving, and then we make an intention to try to stop it, right? This is normally what we do in the meditation. But in the way of seeing Dhammanupassana, you have to let the body happen on its own. Because we want to see the nature of the Dhamma, how are they related? What is really happening? What is, as they are happening right in front of you, to see them as they really are. That means you have to let the body shows you all these type of things. Now, so you notice the sleepiness and your head is nodding. Then this time you notice nodding, then sleepy. Sleepy is in the mind. Then nodding is in the body. Then you sleepy, nodding, sleepy, nodding. And then sometimes you can notice that, sometimes if your mind is clear, you notice that there's a rising of the sleepiness. Then as a one nodding takes place. Then the mind clear. Then again the sleepiness arises. One moment of the sleepiness arises, it disappears, one nodding takes place. When the sleepiness is not there, the nodding stops. When the sleepiness comes in, the nodding takes place. Then here, you begin to see its relationship. You begin to see how the relationship between that sleepiness and the nodding is happening. Now, when you see in this way, then you see the nature of non-self. No I involved. It's just conditioning. But if you stop that nodding forcefully, you're trying to stop the nodding forcefully, then that means you cut off the seeing the nature of that non-self. You cut it off because you thought that, after all, this is just a movement of the body only. And that is how subtle the Dhamma is. Just because you cover it up, then all the Dhamma you're not able to see. Or sometimes you may be able to see what is happening before you get sleepy. Maybe because of the temperature, let's say. You notice the temperature is getting pleasant and then nice, and then your mind also it's getting weaker, and then drowsiness comes in. So here, if you notice it in that way, then it's wonderful. You notice it how it comes in before that, and then how the sleepiness arises. Usually, if you're able to catch hold of this type of sleepiness when it begins, a lot of times you can able to overcome it quite fast. It's just that sleepiness that comes in, that drowsiness that comes in quite strong, and you don't able to catch it in the beginning, and it comes in already somewhere in the middle, then only you realize that the sloth and torpor is already in quite a strong state. That one, you need more time to overcome them. So there are ways also at times, when you notice this sloth and torpor, and then the body is moving, the head is going forward, going sideways, then you have to pay attention to all of them. Some people, their forehead is that they sit down, the forehead is going down, 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 and they touch the floor. They can able to touch the floor. But when normal days, when you ask them whether they can able, the head can touch the floor, cannot, because they got big stomach there. But somehow or another, when they're sleepy, the whole body becomes so soft, and then, it doesn't go like straight away you knock on the floor. It kind of like a little bit, 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 a little bit. And it's interesting. If you really pay attention to how the body is moving, and in relation to that sloth and torpor, you see that there's a lot of happening there. The body is reacting in a certain way, and the mind is getting darker, stronger. The sloth and torpor is getting stronger. It's heavier, and then the body also is getting weaker. The nodding also is going down further, and then until the head touches the floor. And while it's touching the floor, you don't go to sleep. You make sure that your mind is alert. Your mind as best as you can at that time, and you try to notice it. You try to notice it is sleepiness until it passes through, until that sleepiness passes through. This time, you don't bring your body up yet. You don't purposely bring your body up. You let the mind do all the thing for you. You just stay there until the sleepiness is slowly diminishing. Then you'll find that automatically the mind will come up with an intention. The body will start going up on its own. Going out on its own, and then after that you'll sit straight again, just like before. And it becomes very interesting, because this time you can able to overcome that sloth and torpor by the way of Dhammanupassana. Sometimes it goes into that drastic, but of course they are not all the time like that. And it's interesting, as I said, that don't underestimate this nodding, this movement of the body, this slouching. Don't underestimate it. In the beginning part, if you're a beginner meditator, you don't go this way. You do this way, you will fail. If I am beside you, I have to push your body up also. Not you push it. I'll push it up and I'll make you sit straight. But if you're a more advanced meditator, then it's something you can try, because this way is how you see interrelationship between the mind and the body. And it's interesting. And you find that after that, when you are clear from the sloth and torpor, you see that your whole body and the mind is refreshed again. And you can also able to notice that earlier on, before the sloth and torpor you come in, then you can see that there is, in a way, a continuity of mindfulness is still happening. Although your energy is like dipping down, and then it goes up again, but it doesn't really switch off, It doesn't really goes into switching off, but you're still able to follow it until you come up, and then you regain back the mindfulness, just like before you you were sleepy. And this is an interesting way of noting. Now, although this is an interesting way of noting, but when some people look at you, how you meditate, it's like a terrible meditator, When you're actually sitting down and then somebody beside you who is not, let's say, is not a meditator, looking at you, your head going up, going down, going up, going down, going side, going back, going forth, going, then you're saying there's something wrong with you. It's 这个笑了嘛。They will look at you and then they think that you're something. That's why you see, the ego must not come in. If the ego comes in, if you sit there and then you think of, hey, some people may look at me, then they think of me, I'm a terrible meditator, terrible yogi, cannot do that. Then that means you cover up the whole the experience of sloth and torpor and how its relationship to one and another. Yeah. So you see, as I said, ego earlier on, there's also comes into our practice when we don't realize them. Now, if you want to do this way, when the body is moving and you notice it, hopefully you meditate alone. Then you can do whatever you want. Make sure that you don't go rolling down on the floor and everything. If you start rolling on the floor, that means you're too much already, Here you are still sitting. Your body is like not in a very drastic, fast movement. Because if you are still noting it, everything will go in a slow motion. Even your sloth and torpor also come in a slow motion. Even your body is moving also in a slow motion. At that time, you can able to sort of control the body that it doesn't go into too much. If you go into too much, then the whole mindfulness is broken. We have a certain limit for just to see how the nature of sloth and torpor is relationship with the other parts of the body or the mind, in this sense. So this is how we try to notice this sloth and torpor, and it's good way. This two way is a wonderful way, because in the beginning of the retreat, in the beginning of our practice as a yogi, we don't go head to head with it. We know that when we go head to head with it, we will fail. We will go into sleepy. We will kind of like destroy the whole sitting, sitting after sitting. So it's not good for beginner yogi. This is better for more advanced yogi. The next thing is that if you cannot do this, then for a beginner yogi, it's better to do an indirect method. For a beginner yogi is to go in the indirect method. Now, indirect method here, we go using a sitting, touching, body scanning, walking, etc. Indirect here, it's what we don't go trying to see its characteristic. We know that it's there. But we shift our mind. We shift our mind to another object. And it's good that this time we shift it to a wider object, bigger object, that the mind can able to take note. Let's say you are sitting and there's sloth and torpor coming in. And then you're noticing like rising, falling, or in-breath, out-breath. And you know that particular object, when you're noting it, the mind is not clear. This is good that this time you switch over to something which is obvious or clear to you. Now you do the sitting and touching. Let's say the sitting and touching is clear to you. Now sitting and touching here is another method especially when you are a beginner of a meditation, when your objects are not clear, this one not clear, that one not clear. Sitting and touching is also to help you to have a certain object when things are not clear. So sitting here can be your hands are touching each other and your buttock, left buttock and also the right buttock. Also, the separation of the buttock in the beginning of the meditation, if you're a beginner also, that buttock also is not easy to separate. When you sit down, you need one big buttock only. But when you are more clearer, then you can notice left and right. But it's good that we try to discern it, even in the beginning of our practice, because it helps you to make the mind a bit more clearer. Then this time, when this time is that you bring in the touching. Let's say you are sleepy right now. You notice sleepy, then you let it go for a while. You leave it at the mind there. You leave it at the mind there. You bring it to the touching. Then this time you notice touching. While you are noticing the touching, you notice its characteristic of the touching. Then here you may notice it hot, cold, pressure, or warm, or something. Your mind has to be like, do it a little bit faster, in the sense that you pick up the object. You pick up the touching object. You pick up the touching object, and when you notice that touching in the hands, that there's warmness, then you note warm, or touching, and then just a few noticing will do. Maybe 3, 4, 5 noticing will do. And then after that, you move over to the buttock. You move over to the buttock. Here perhaps you go to the right buttock and you notice touching, sitting. And then while you're noticing it, pay attention to the characteristic. It's hot, it's cold, it's painful, or it's pulling. You can able to notice these things if your mind is a little bit clear. Then after that, switch over to the left buttock and then notice the same thing. Sitting, then notice it is hot or cold or pressure or pulling or whatsoever. And then you come back to the touching again. Touching. It's still the same thing. You notice its characteristic. So you do it this way. It's good that you make sure that you notice the characteristic. You notice just like that. Just like earlier on, we talked about the Chitta Nupassana, you notice it a bit more faster. You label it. And also for this one, you take notice of its characteristic of the hand touching or the buttock. So you take notice of its characteristic, then the mindfulness starts to come in. The mindfulness starts to come in because we want the effort together with the mindfulness. If you have effort without mindfulness, then what will happen is that you notice it like touching, sitting, touching, then you are not noticing, but you are arousing effort. You will still able to overcome the sleepiness, but later on, your mind cannot able to start noting again because you are too high with energy. You're too high with energy, then your mind becomes so bright, but it cannot bring down to note the subsequent objects. So you need to bring in the mindfulness. Again, here is all trial and error. All these things I've done it before. Although I do not understand it that time, but over the years, I begin to understand how these things is working and so on. All trial and error. The teachers guide you, and then here we develop it further and further to understand it clearer. So you can try the sitting and touching method, and it's good for beginners to do it. You don't go into the sloth and torpor directly, but you arouse it in another way. Now, if you don't want to do sitting and touching, then you can do, say, body scanning. Sorry, before the body scanning. Now, sometimes how many points or how many area that you should do with the sitting and touching. Some people like to do like 3 or 4 or 5. Area means like, for example, sitting one buttock, right buttock is one area, left buttock is another area, and then the hands is another area or another point. So you got 3 points or you got 3 areas. Some people like to do 5. Let's say, for example, they have a right knee, left knee, buttock, hands, 5. Some people like to do more, like head, shoulder, left shoulder, buttock here and there. I find it too many for myself. Too many, I become like, don't know where to run already. I forgot, should I go here or there first? Or maybe that one first. Then I come out mong cha cha. Then I don't do too many. But some people like to do many because it helps them. Again, some people have different way of doing it. So it all depends. What is important is that your mind is alert. Your mind is clear as you move from one object to another object. Then with that clarity, then it overcomes the sleepiness in the background. So it's in the indirect way. You're still doing Vipassana, but you're not directly noting the sloth and torpor. Right? Now the body scanning way. The body scanning way is that when you're sitting, this one is also good. You can do it in the sitting or in the walking also. Later part we'll talk about the walking. Now in the sitting, you take a bigger object this time. Sorry. I mean, the principle here is that when you take a bigger object, it's easier for the effort and mindfulness to come in. So, body scanning, that means you take the whole body as like an object. So you scan it through from the head. From the head, you scan slowly, you scan down. Sometimes you go a little bit faster in order to stimulate the mind, stimulate the effort. You go a little bit faster, scan it down. You do it for a few times, okay? Then after that, after 3 or 4 times, you begin to pick up the sensation of the body. Sometimes you have a pulling sensation here, you got the hot sensation there, you got the pain sensation there, you got the tension there. So you notice some characteristic of the body is coming in. But mind you, during this time also, it's not easy for the mind to notice the sensation because the sloth and torpor is covering you. It's like blanketing your noticing at this moment of time. So you got to put a bit of effort to search for the sensation. You got to search for it and try to notice it, try to identify those sensations. And then you scan it through a few times. When you scan through a few times and then you notice this sensation is there, that sensation is there, and then you notice heart. Oh, that one is pulling, pain. And then after that, if they are not clear again, scan again. Sometimes just by that scanning without pulling the sensation in, also it helps to slowly and clear the sloth and torpor. Because the nature of sloth and torpor, it's to congeal or to contract the mind, to make the mind hard, to make the mind heavy. So you want to expand the mind. And to expand the mind, you take a wider object. So you break a wider object. Where do you take a wider object? You take the whole body as an object. So this is one way, the principle behind it. To widen the mind. To widen the mind, therefore, you put in a bit of vitaka and the effort, and perhaps it may able to overcome it. What else? Walking meditation. Now, if all else fails, if your sitting meditation, you cannot do it, then it's good that we get up to do the walking. To get up to do the walking, here again, when you are drowsy and you get up to do the walking, try not to go too slow. Don't go very slowly like a snail like that. You sleep and stand. You stand and sleep. You stop there, even your leg is hanging somewhere in the middle, and you can go sleep. meditator can maybe like they can do that, Now, what can you do? Even sometimes when you get up and then sometimes when you're walking also you feel sleepy. Again here, body scanning during the walking meditation also is helpful. Not just only one phase, two phase, or whether it's a bit faster, those things are good. But I find it that the body scanning while you are walking, this time when you are scanning the body, it means that you do in a kind of like a phase that you are not so sleepy, like a one phase, right step, right step, left step. But this time, you bring your attention to the whole body. Rather than you stay with your sensation on your feet, but this time you take note of the whole body while the body is moving, the body is walking. So you notice the body, how the sensation of, let's say, the whole leg, let's say, from the thighs right down to the ankle. And notice that how the thighs are moving and the knees are moving. Sometimes you can notice in the left leg, and after that you can notice the right leg, then the left leg, right leg, because it's a wide object, it's a big object. Or sometimes you can notice how the hips are swinging from the left to the right, to the left to the right. Now that is also stimulate the mind. After that, you can go to another part. For example, you can notice the shoulder is moving. Now, you don't move your hands. You'll just walk like you are normally doing a walking meditation, like a one-phase meditation. But the attention is not on the leg, but this time is on the body. Notice this body, notice how it's moved and so on. Then sometimes you change from some parts, and then you notice another part, and then you see that this sleepiness are very fast is so overcome. This one, I did it a lot of times. I did it a lot of times, and then I find it's so helpful. Because there are times that during the retreat, the mind is quite sleepy. Even at home also, sometimes you are at home also. So sometimes when we meditate also, it can get a bit drowsy. So if you got a space to walk, and then it's good that while walking, noticing the whole body. And it's very helpful. And you keep it there. You keep it there, noticing it for a while. Sometimes you may need to walk because of the sleepiness is strong, you may do it for half an hour, 45 minutes, or even 1 hour. In order just to shift the mind around here and there. And when you shift the mind here and there, it arouses vitakka. Vitakka, that means effort is coming in. When the effort coming in, if you notice the sensation and all that, then the mindfulness comes in. And then you get up quite clear. Then some people overdo this walking meditation, When they're sleepy, they want to go very fast. They go left and right, up and down, up and down. Oh, so fast, my goodness. You can feel their air also. Sometimes if you're walking beside them, you can feel their air also coming onto you, They are next lane, maybe a bit further away, but you can feel their air also. You can feel their smell also going through. Don't do like that. Don't do like that. Yeah. It's no point. Your body is tired already. Then you do all these things to make yourself a little bit more, when you exercise to make the body alert. But later on, when you sit down again, you're going to go into sleepiness again. Some people like one time I'm in the retreat, these yogis, they're so tired, maybe like 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening. They start putting on their jogging shoes and then start jogging around the temple. That's also not the way. That's not the way to overcome. But then you can do some degree of exercise, a mindful exercise. That we're going to talk about that in a short one later on. But what is important, if you are doing walking meditation, you get up and do the walking meditation and you be mindful. You try to be mindful of that walking, After that, if your walking is getting clearer and so on, continue the walking for a while until you feel that you are completely sure that your mind is alert. Then only you go into your sitting meditation. Kind of like learn to feel. After a while, you know this whether the sloth and torpor is totally clear or not. Now, sometimes also, once in a while, yogis will come to report to me, Bante, early morning when I wake up, I'm quite fresh, My body is very light, the mind is clear, Then I feel so good to meditate. After that, when I sat down to do the meditation, after I done some walking meditation, I feel good. Yes, I go down and sit. After when I sat down, half an hour later, the sleepiness come in quite strongly. And I don't know, I went into sleep already. Then until the bell rings, and then only I realized that. But in the beginning, I thought that I was clear from all this sloth and torpor. How come when I sit down, the sloth and torpor starts coming in? But I feel so fresh in the beginning of the sitting. This is quite a number of times we've seen this, And also, I also experienced those things before. Not that you alone. Many yogis experience this. So what happened during, especially in the early morning sitting? No matter who you are, In the early morning sitting, you see, the body is not so alert yet. Although the mind feels fresh, the body feels good, But actually the body is not so really warm up yet. Not really warm up yet. So there is still a bit of pulling here and there, although that your mind is not able to notice all these things because your mind will feel quite fresh at this time. So you can bend down to sit. So you sat down, and then after that, half an hour later, earlier on the rising, falling, everything was quite clear. You are happy with the sitting, and then slowly, the mind starts to become darker and darker. This time, the transitioning period, if you happen to see them clearly, then it's wonderful. Because this time, this type of that sleepiness comes in. It comes in from the body. It's stimulated by the body, not because the mind is lazy, but the body is somehow another. Sometimes like when you are sitting, that type of sourness are slowly creeping in. I can't describe that sourness. It's like, it's not pain type of sourness. It's just like the kind of sourness is slowly creeping in, and then it starts to make the mind to drop the energy, the effort, the mindfulness, and then your mind become blur. You're kind of slowly getting more sour a little bit, as you can see that it's like oozing in, and it's like slowly touching the mind, and that is where your sloth and torpor starts coming in. Quite a number of times I have noticed it in this way. So take note of those things if you can able to this one. And when you're able to take note of it, sometimes you can just keep that sloth and torpor aside, just at the side, while you can still able to notice your object. You can no. Then that sloth and torpor is still at the background, but you can able to still note. You can still keep it there, but keep on noting until the hour is up. But sometimes you cannot catch it. That is where you go into sleepiness, especially in the early morning. Yeah. In the late evening, it's like your body is really tired already that time. It's real tiredness. And then you still got the energy you want to go through. You want to push through because the momentum from throughout the day that is built up, and then it builds up into the evening. The mind wants to go through, but the body just cannot. You touch 9 o'clock or 9:30 only, your body is like, oh my goodness, it's like totally no energy. It's like totally you're totally dry already, but you still gotta wish you want to go. That also is another one. So that one, no matter what you do, you need to rest already. Some people say that, Bante, go and take honey, go and take some more honey, sugar to give you a jump. Like your battery is all dead already, and then they give you a jump. And then you jump for a while, jump for a while. Then after that, you need to rest already. Yeah? When you're in the retreat, in the long retreat, some people says that, oh, Bante, I want to go all night retreat. Oh, I'm sorry, all night meditation. You're reaching 11 o'clock only beta. Sometimes, especially that coming into this Vesak Eve, sometimes some meditation centers, they organize all night long meditation. That all night long, you wake up, I wake up at 12 o'clock and look at them, everybody all night long. 11 o'clock, all night long means all night until next morning the sun comes up. But no way. All night. So many times they say all night they want to do their retreat. No way, no. Even in your retreat also, also actually it's not so good to do all night also. Your body is really tired. You need to rest and then tomorrow you fight another day. Yeah?